Welcome to This Week in Combat Sports, where we're looking ahead of this weekend's big fights and some of the bigger news of the day. I'm Drew Goldfarb, joined by Rick Rockwell. Rick, we're beginning with MMA this week. UFC Fight Night 154 emanates from Greenville, South Carolina this weekend. See the shirt you've got on. We're going to get there in a second. But let's start with the main event. Korean Zombie taking on Renato Moicano. Moicano is favored at minus 210. Zombie lists at plus 170. We spoke about the potential fight quality here on this week's podcast. What about the potential betting quality for this fight?
Well, for those who didn't see the podcast, I suggest you go check it out for the entertainment and betting knowledge that we give you. Not only that, this is going to be a great fight from style matchup because they're just going to come in there and try and knock each other's heads off, which means the Korean Zombie has a puncher's chance of winning this fight, even though he's the underdog by a sizable amount, anywhere from plus 170 on up, depending on which betting site you're looking at. That's a lot. That's a great return. I happen to think he's going to win this fight. I was a little bit on the fence trying to figure out at first who was going to win, but after researching this fight more, their matchups, seeing how other experts, so-called experts, were predicting this fight, and then reading what a lot of their peers in the UFC were thinking, a lot of people are picking the Korean Zombie to win this fight. He just has that pressure to just keep pushing ahead, even if his lights are half out, which is why he gets the Zombie nickname right there, because he does not stop. No matter how much you beat him, he just does not stop. He keeps coming forward. He has the style. He has the striking skills. He has the punching power to win this fight, and it's going to be explosive. Personally, I hope it goes the distance because then we're going to get a Fight of the Year candidate. I think the value on Korean Zombie is great. I think he's worth a flyer if you're not into betting on underdogs. He has a solid shot at winning. This is going to be an exciting main event this weekend, not only entertainment-wise, but fight-wise and betting-wise.
Alrighty, let's get to the man nicknamed after the guy that is on your shirt. Violent Bob Ross. Luis Pena takes on 35-year-old Matt Wiman. It'll be Wyman's first bout since November of 2014, and he's a pretty big underdog at plus 295. Pena, meanwhile, comes in at minus 370. Not a lot of money to be won betting on Violent Bob Ross, but is that still the smart play here, or would that be a happy accident?
First of all, rest in peace, Bob Ross. We miss you, man. We love you. With that said, you don't know what you're going to get out of Matt returning. It's been a long time. I don't even know why he's really coming back other than he probably misses the action. He's going up against a guy that's really starting to get into his prime. He's a young enough prospect to where he's still got room to grow, but athletically and fight skills-wise, he's starting to reach his stride here. He's 6-1. He has an opportunity to add a name to his resume more than anything. The odds are pretty fair, in my opinion, because of the fact that Wyman's coming from a long layoff, basically almost 5 years now. It's pretty intense to think about that. The Violent Bob Ross does, in an interview that I read with him, he said he's not even sure exactly what to prepare for. So he's prepared for every version of his opponent that they can think of, that they can find on tape, because it's challenging. You don't know what kind of shape he's going to be in. You don't know how quick he's going to be, his conditioning, his timing, or any of that. All you have to go on is his past fights from when in his prime, or even at the end of his career where he slowed down some and he was getting beat by people that he probably should have beaten. Money-wise, this is one of those fights where I would avoid, because even if the odds were closer, you're still not sure what you're going to get out of this matchup, other than the greatest nickname in MMA right now. In fact, the two greatest nicknames in MMA are both on this event, which fires me up in the first place.
Gotta love that. Bob Ross, awesome. Violent Bob Ross, entertaining, and he's got the hair to match, which is perfect. Is there another fight that jumps out to you as having big betting potential for this UFC Fight Night?
Oh, yeah. In my betting preview, there was five different fights that I thought offered good betting value, where four of them were underdogs. Another one was close, so it was just like, you can get good value on either fighter. But, the Korean Zombie was one of them. And then there's another fight. I can't remember if it's it's not the co-main event. It's in the main card. It's Holland versus I can't even say the guy's last name. Chirico. Holland's a big betting favorite. He was at minus 225 last I saw. And I put this in my preview. I feel like this is where MMA betting sites are buying into the hype because he's a good talker. He can market himself. He's a good prospect, but I don't think he's going to win this fight. I think his opponent has the skills to beat him, and I think that's what's going to happen. And his opponent was plus 185 last I saw. So that's great value right there. Molly McCann, in her fight, she was like a plus 260, 270 underdog. And this is going to be a striker's fight, right? Which means there's a puncher's chance she could win. She's like the Korean Zombie in the sense where she can take a beating. Like in her last fight, her eye was swollen. She still just keeps coming forward and stuff. Neither fighter are going to take the fight to the mat. So they're going to be punching each other in the face for 3 rounds. And with that said, she has a puncher's chance of doing something. That's a great return if she can end up winning the fight. And there's a couple other ones in there that, they offer some decent value. Either they're a slight underdog or they're just a very slight betting favorite or whatnot. So this card does give you, I would say half the fights have some betting value, and the other half of the fights I wouldn't even touch because the betting odds are so far ahead, or stylistically, the one fighter clearly should win the fight over the other one.
Well, Bellator is heading across the pond to London for Bellator 223. We saw some big moments out of Bellator last weekend, including Chael Sonnen's retirement. What are we expecting this time around?
I don't think we're going to get as great of a card as we got at Bellator 222, but Bellator London or Bellator 223, whatever you want to call it, does have potential to be a really good fight event. The main card has a lot of good fighters on there, and more importantly, they have some good matchups. They got Gallagher's on there, and he's a brash Irish fighter who, by the way, if he continues to ascend, we could be seeing a massive title fight for him in Ireland where he would main event, and that would be big for Bellator. At 8-1, he's definitely got the potential. He lost his first fight last year. However, he's going up against somebody who has great jiu-jitsu skills. So we're not sure how this fight's going to end, yet the odds makers were heavily favoring Gallagher once again because of his brashness, his marketability and stuff like that, kind of like the Holland fight in UFC. So I would be suspicious or cautious with that. There's other fights on there that offer potential betting value, but the main event, there is a potential for an upset there because Lovato is a beast on the mat and a beast in jiu-jitsu and grappling. And Mousasi's even said, if he gets me down on the mat and he can implement his jiu-jitsu skills, his jiu-jitsu plan, he can win the fight. So when one fighter is acknowledging that the other fighter can win because of that particular skill set, you have to give that guy a chance. His odds are extremely high for someone who is clearly better in one facet of the fight game. To me, that's worth taking a flyer on. When you have a clear-cut advantage in one part of the fight game and your odds are like 270, 300 or whatnot, he's worth a flyer. No doubt about it.
Well, let's wrap things up with something a little less traditional, even compared to MMA, which is only a 25-year-old sport if you're looking at UFC. Bare Knuckle Fighting is most definitely a thing, and Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship 6 is on the way this weekend. And quick, just before we get into the card, is that sport exactly what it sounds like it is?
It is exactly what it sounds like it is, although they do have a little tape around their wrists and stuff, but it's basically bare knuckles, and it is gruesome. It is brutality at its, well, some would say at its finest. For those fight sports fans or combat sports fans who love the blood, love seeing hamburger-looking faces by the time the fight's over with, and just love the brutality of a fight, then this is it for you, because people come in there and it's a bloody mess by the time if you're not getting flat knocked out early on, it ends up being a bloody mess. And even when you're knocked out early on, there's still blood. Basically, there's a lot of blood. And If you can't stomach that, and some people can't, you're not going to be able to watch all the fights. However, with that said, the main event in this fight has me almost as excited as the Korean Zombie fight because of the drama surrounding it. You know, the Magic Man, Paulie, our boy Paulie, he's a friend of ours, first of all. Paulie's a friend of ours. He is a former world champ boxer. And Artem is a former MMA fighter. And the whole storyline with these guys hating each other, stemming back a couple years to when Malignaggi helped out Conor McGregor prepare for Floyd Mayweather and stuff. The drama between Paulie and Conor, Conor's team, which includes Artem and Paulie. Paulie slapped Artem in the face in one press conference, spit on him in another, said he would spit on his mother if she was there, which, first of all, to me, that's just freaking hilarious. If it happened, I would kill the guy. Like, I understand that. But it's hilarious saying it. Like, that sells a fight. That makes people hate Paulie. And he's a hateable guy. Like, I hated him his whole boxing career. I wanted to see him lose every fight. When he became a commentator for boxing, I was like, this dude is actually a good commentator. Now, I'm not going to say he's like Tony Romo, like you hit gold with that, but he's up there. He does a great job. A lot of people have grown to like him because of that. With that said, I still think a lot of people want to see him get his face smashed in. To me, I cannot see how Paulie loses this fight unless he breaks his hand on Artem's face and he can't continue. He just has world-class boxing skills, or at least he did. He's only 38. Chris Lieben in the co-main event's 38. So it's not like he's over the hill. If he had a good camp, if he comes in good shape, he should win this fight. Like, no doubt about it, he should win this fight. At the very least, as long as he keeps his distance and sets up his power shots and waits and is patient, as a patient fighter, he should win this fight, because Artem's not the pure boxer like he is, but Artem's rugged. He's tough. He can take a pounding. He's got a chin. And Paulie's chin's going to be tested if he gets connected. And if Artem can cut off the ring and get this close and get this a physical, you know, in a phone booth, as they say, he's got a shot. That's why the betting odds are closer than one would think, because initially you would think a world-class former two-time world champ boxer would have a huge advantage over an MMA fighter in a striking contest. You know, it's bare knuckles, but it's pretty much held mostly closer to boxing rules than it is MMA or kickboxing rules. You know, so, but with that said, because Artem is tough, because he is capable of striking, and because he can make this a close fight in terms of proximity, he has a shot. But for me, I'm taking Paulie. I think Paulie's going to win. Money-wise, it's hard to bet against him. You can hate him. You can put your heart over your head. You can root for him to lose. You can root for him. The funny thing is, Paulie said the end result is Artem's face is going to be punched off. His face is literally going to come off because of the fight. I died laughing. Like, he called him a punching bag with legs or a punching bag with feet. Like, Paulie can sell a fight. He's got me fired up. He's got everybody fired up. They're going to do their best numbers. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be entertaining. And I think this weekend itself has a good blend when we're looking at it. If you take a step back, you got the UFC, which is the most popular brand. Then you've got Bellator, who's bringing in some of their fighters, like Musasi's a top 5 middleweight in the world. And Gallagher is rising up the ranks quickly. So you got some of their talent. And then you got your niche fringe fight sport in bare knuckle fighting, which is still gaining momentum. It's still bringing in former UFC, former Bellator fighters, former boxers. Like, these former combat sport athletes are finding a new home and a new niche to compete in. Now, they're not going to make nearly as much money, but for people who only skills are fighting, it gives them a chance to go out there and do something that they enjoy doing, earn some paychecks, get the thrill of the fight, the challenge, all that good stuff. This Saturday is going to be a lot of fun.
Rick Rockwell, thank you very much. Be sure to check out Rick's articles on boxing, MMA, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships, and more online now at gamblingsites.org. And make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Odds On Favorites YouTube channel. I'm Drew Goldfarb. He's Rick Rockwell. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.